Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation I received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you are currently taking, not taking, or considering taking, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at fitcosgrove_. All right, let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number one. Nick, do you think most people would get better results if they stopped doing group fitness classes and just followed a structured weight training program? I think that would depend on the group fitness class that you're taking. All right. Now, I talked about this briefly on my coaching reality episode last week about if you are a group class a participant or a personal training client, what you should not be expected to do in the gym. I included things such as cleaning up after yourself, setting up your own stations, re-racking your weights, making sure that your station, everything from your station is put away. You're putting together your stations, setting things up. All that stuff should be handled by your coach or the group class instructors or the staff on site. Now, as far as group classes in general, I would say that from what I've seen and from what I've heard from my own clients who've participated in group classes, a lot of times, more often than not, the instructor is not correcting form, not correcting technique. Now, it's not the instructor's fault. If you have 30 people in a group class, how the hell is one person supposed to correct your form and technique? And what happens is because no one's correcting your form and no one's correcting your technique, you could be doing an exercise completely wrong and risk injuring yourself. And for that reason, I feel that a lot of group classes are offering a diluted service. Okay. So this goes beyond the setting up your own stations, tearing down your own stations, clean up your dumbbells, clean up your mats. This is just the actual coaching that I'm talking about right now. I feel that anyone who joins a group class, whether it be Pilates, whether it be Legree, whether it be yoga, whether it be a CrossFit or bodybuilding, they should be somewhat well versed before stepping into that group class. So what I mean by that, they could benefit from having 3 to 6 sessions with a private instructor doing one-on-one sessions, just so they could learn the movements, right? I know for me, like I don't know a thing about Pilates, nothing. Okay. I'll be the first to admit that. Nothing at all. If I was trying to go join a Pilates class, I go, you know what? I want to actually do 6 sessions with a Pilates instructor one-on-one so I can learn the basics. I can learn the compound movements just so I understand what I'm doing so that I don't get left behind. All right. So some of this falls on the group class participant as well. You have to do your due diligence as well to know where your level of fitness is at. If you are someone who's brand new to the gym and you join these classes, don't expect someone to correct your form or technique because more often than that, not that does not happen, right? Now, if you get lucky and you're in a small group class where there's like maybe 4 to 5 people, like my group classes, not a plug-in. I'm just saying, like my group classes, I usually keep my group classes between 4 to 8 people so that people can get that more individual attention. At the same time, though, I still like those people to have a few sessions with me one-on-one or with one of the trainers one-on-one so they understand what they're doing when they get to that group class. But if you are in a smaller class, obviously you would hope that the instructor on site is going to be able to spend a little bit more time correcting your form or technique because there's only 3 or 4 people to watch, right? But more often than not, that doesn't happen. And group classes, especially if they're cheap group classes, like $15, $20 for drop-in, that's not going to happen. And I talked about last week on a No Filter Q&A about why I'm against these apps like ClassPass, right? Where you can just drop in as a random member, or not even a member, a random participant and join any group class. Well, the instructor doesn't know anything about you, your health history, current injuries, potential physical limitations that you may have. So that to me is asking for trouble and you're not really going to get a good workout. So to answer that question, I feel that most people would benefit more from a structured training program that's designed specifically for them. Yes, of course. But at the same time, I understand that a lot of people, can't afford to work with a private trainer. I get that. And I also understand that a lot of people just won't go to the gym on their own. So they need that accountability. So going to a group class will at least help hold them accountable. Okay, so there's two sides of the coin to look at here, but I wouldn't just blame the group class instructors and the group classes and say, yeah, they're shitty, don't join them. I would say do your due diligence, make sure that whatever class you're joining, it's going to be somewhat of a controlled class. The instructor on site is going to correct your form and technique. If the class is truly that big, as in 30 people, Why not get three instructors teaching the class? Gym's making money. You can pay that. Then you have three people moving around and they can have a second eyes on you and they can say, hey, you know what? We got to correct your form or technique here. I think you should do this. Or if you need a modification, let's do this. All right. So I feel that more people would benefit from a structured program, of course. The problem is most people won't go to the gym on their own. All right. So that's where the group classes help hold people accountable. And that's why, besides that they're cost effective, a lot of people do group classes because it does hold them accountable. Right. But do I think that they're going to get incredible results? If they don't really know what they're doing in the gym, no, I truly don't. That's my honest opinion. Okay. Unless you're in a small group class where the instructor really can correct your form and technique, I think you're wasting your time. And I think you would benefit much more from spending a little bit more money working one on one with the trainer just for a few sessions or working with a coach online that can help customize a program for you specifically and provide you with tutorial videos. That's what I do with my online clients so they understand how to do the exercises correctly if you can't work with them in person. All right. Okay. Nick, if you could only choose one for the rest of your life, perfect nutrition or perfect training, which one would have the bigger impact on your physique? Ooh, I've always said that dietary nutrition and training go hand in hand. They're 50-50. If I had to choose one or the other, I would choose the training because at least if I'm following a poor diet, I feel at least I can burn those calories or utilize those calories to my benefit in the gym. So, for example, if my diet's just crazy bad, I'm waking up in the morning, I'm having a muffin. Even though I know that muffin's going to make me feel like shit, I can still utilize those calories, those extra carbohydrates, maybe and a little bit of the sugar to help me perform in the gym. So I'd still be training because I don't want to just let it all go, okay, as in my physique go or my health go. So I would keep in the training between the two. But I truly do believe that you can't have one without the other. There's that old saying that says you can't out-train a bad diet, and it's so true. You can't. And I've talked about this in the past, how I didn't even notice that I didn't notice changes in my physique until I started cleaning up my diet. When I first started training, like I got okay results, but I still had a layer of fat over my abs. I still wasn't like lifting crazy heavy weights in the gym. And it's because my diet wasn't in check. Once you dial in your diet, man, everything changes. I started putting in more complex carbohydrates, took out the simple carbs, put in healthy fats, took out the trans fats, added more lean proteins, took out the fatty proteins. And all of a sudden, I'm leaning out aesthetically. I'm putting on weight on the scale, and my strength in the gym is going up all because of diet. My training stayed the exact same. Nothing changed. Well, the weights I was lifting increased, but my training stayed the same. I probably moved a little quicker in the gym too. All right. So my performance got better. So it's really hard for me to say, well, I'll definitely take the training. I mean, yes, if I had to take one or the other, I would take the training simply because I would try to utilize those calories to my benefit. But I'm a firm believer that you can't have one without the other. And I can tell you this from training the general population. My clients who have their diets dialed in versus the ones who are kind of sporadic with their eating, the ones who are dialed in, they see the biggest changes. They do with their aesthetics, with their performance, their mood, their ability to recover. It's night and day, not even close. All right. The ones who are kind of sporadic, like they don't really portion out their meals. They order from like Chipotle, so for one meal, and then maybe they'll make a meal at home, and then they'll maybe go to the store and grab a muffin or go to a restaurant, grab a burger and fries, whatever it is. Those people who are eating sporadically like that and aren't really following a plan, it really has a domino effect on their training in the gym, on their physique, on their recovery, their sleep. So I would tell you right now that if you're serious about transforming your physique and improving your health, you have to dial in that diet. Okay, you really do. And once you start following a structured nutritional program that complements your customized training program, you're going to see drastic changes with your physique and your health and your performance in the gym. All right. Nick, do you think the body positivity movement has helped people become healthier, or has it given some people an excuse to avoid making changes? Yeah, if you'd asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have told you the body positivity movement is a good thing. But now, like anything, I feel like the pendulum has swung way too far to one side. And I feel like now we're almost like we're praising people who are obese, praising people who are not afraid to be themselves and they're proud of their bodies. And then listen, I'm not trying to fat shame anybody, and I'm glad that you're proud of your body. But at no time should we be awarding obesity. There's nothing healthy about obesity at all. Nothing. And I feel like as adults, that's a terrible role model to use if you yourself are promoting, I love my body, but as a guy, I'm sitting here at 50% body fat. Or I love my body, and as a woman, you're sitting here at 55, 60% body fat. To me, that is incredibly unhealthy. All right. And, it's sending the wrong message to the younger generation. I'm not saying you have to walk around 5% body fat year round. Okay. But I do think it's important that you try your absolute best to stay as disciplined as you can with your health. And the only way to do that is by making sure you're following a solid nutritional plan along with a regular training program. Okay. So you're getting in regular exercise 3 to 4 times a week. You're following a clean diet 75 to 85% of the time. All right. I'm not asking be 100% disciplined on both, but I feel that because the body positivity movement now is telling people, don't worry about what you look like, just go to the gym, have fun, enjoy your workouts, eat whatever you like, have this, flexible dieting and all this nonsense. I'm like, no, that to me is sending the wrong message. And what's wrong with being disciplined with your diet? What's wrong with being disciplined with your training? What's wrong with being disciplined in general? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So this is my personal opinion, and I do feel the body positivity movement has gone too far. And listen, I train with people who their goal is not to look like a bodybuilder. Their goal is not to walk around with 5% body fat. Their goal is just to be healthier and fit, and that's fine. But at the same time, these people know that it's not good for their bodies. It's not healthy for their body. There's nothing positive about sitting at 40% body fat. Nothing. Okay. So you can be as proud of your body and love your body all you want, but you can't sit here and tell me that you're healthy if your body fat levels are above 20% if you're a guy, above 25% if you're a woman. They're not, period. And if you're a genetic freak and you win the genetic lottery and you live to be 100 and you have zero health conditions and you've been overweight your whole life, good, that's great for you. But there's very few people like that. And if you look statistically speaking, people who are obese are at a higher risk, heart attack, stroke, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. All right. So never, and not to mention all the physical limitations that you have as someone who is overweight. Think of someone who's overweight, how difficult it is to climb upstairs, right? Think of it, how difficult it is maybe to sit in an airplane seat, right? Maybe you need to get 2 airplane seats. And again, I'm not making fun. I'm not fat shaming anybody. I'm truly not, because I work with people who come to work with me because they are overweight. A lot of people, they work with me because of that, for that reason. Not everyone, but I do have people that sign up because they say to me, hey, I need to take control of my health here. It's getting out of control here. Okay. And you don't want to do it before it's too late. Okay. I've had people come work with me who are overweight. They're in their 60s. They've been overweight their whole life, or they put on weight in their last 20, 30 years when business got really good and they became really successful and they had kids. And now they're starting to see that they're having, or feel they're having, some health issues. Okay. And like I said, it could be high cholesterol levels, could be high blood pressure, could be type 2 diabetes. They could be getting early signs of osteoarthritis because their weight is so heavy that their muscles are too weak because they don't weight train. All these issues add up. And then as you get older, it becomes more challenging to get yourself into the gym. So if you can start to develop those habits early from a young age in your 20s and your 30s, you have a better chance, in my opinion anyway, a better chance of living a healthier lifestyle, okay? And being more healthy and, not having your immune system compromised. Okay. Yes, of course, healthy people get sick, right? Just because you work out with weights 6 days a week doesn't mean that you're not going to get cancer. Of course, you can. But I truly believe the healthier you are, the better the odds of you fighting off that cancer. Okay. Fighting off osteoarthritis or limiting the effects of the osteoarthritis. Okay. Keeping your blood pressure low, stable, keeping your cholesterol levels stable. I understand some of this is genetic based, some of it's hereditary. I do get that. But for the most part, if you are someone who is overweight, who is morbidly obese, and you are telling people or telling yourself, I still love my body, I'm not telling you not to love your body, but don't kid yourself and tell yourself you're healthy. Okay. Because it's not healthy. There's nothing healthy about that. All right. Okay. Nick, is cardio actually overrated for fat loss, or are strength coaches just biased because they like lifting weights? It's interesting. I had a client send me an Instagram video the other day. talking about visceral fat and how this person who was talking about the best way to burn visceral fat was through aerobic exercise, not through weightlifting. And I have to disagree with that. All right. And here's the reason. When you lift weights on a regular basis, you increase muscle mass. When you increase lean muscle mass, your metabolic rate, your resting metabolic rate increases, which means you're burning more calories in a rested state. So someone who has, let's say, 30 pounds of added muscle from weight training over years and years of weight training is burning more calories just sitting on the couch than someone who doesn't do any weight training at all, but maybe they run. Okay. Maybe the person who runs is actually very lean. Okay. They run every day of the week. They're very lean, but their metabolic rate will never be as higher as the person who lifts weights because the more muscle you're carrying, the more calories you burn in a rested state. So the more intelligent way to not only burn body fat, but to keep body fat off is to incorporate regular resistance training into your lifestyle. I'm not saying don't do cardio. If you've watched any of the No Filter Q&As, I'm always a huge advocate of cardio. I do cardio every day, or at least 5 days a week. Okay. But it's not because I want to utilize cardio to burn fat. I do it for my heart health. I find the benefits of cardio for me allow me to rest less in between sets when I'm weight training. Okay. I don't get out of breath when I'm walking upstairs. And I attribute that to my heart health. Okay. My resting heart rate is below 40 beats per minute. So I do enjoy doing cardio and I find it to be incredibly beneficial. I do think it's overrated when it comes to fat loss. And I think a lot of people associate cardio with fat loss. And yes, you will lose fat if you're doing cardio. Of course, you're burning calories. You're going to lose fat, right? The problem though is that you're going to constantly have to do cardio in order to keep that fat off. Whereas if you're weight training, you could take a month off from weight training and your metabolic rate will still be high. Okay. As long as you're making sure your diet's dialed in, you're getting enough protein, you're not just going to lose muscle and go into a catabolic state. That's not going to happen. In order to lose muscle, you have to take a prolonged period of rest from the gym. All right. But if you're relying on cardio to burn fat, you're going to constantly have to rely on cardio to burn fat. Right. And that's my take home message here is that I'm not saying don't do cardio, but for people out there that say the only way to burn fat and the only way to take off visceral fat is from aerobic exercise, that's incorrect. Completely incorrect. And if you don't believe me, go on my Instagram, look at my contest prep photos. My cardio to get that lean, and I swear, my last show, I didn't take a zero, none, no fat burners whatsoever. Took no Ozempic, no Cytomel, no clenbuterol. I swear on my life, no fat burners. My body fat for that last show in March, probably around 5%. All I did, the same thing I always do, trained every day with weights. Diet, yeah, took my carbs down by about 100 grams per day. Cardio, increased it to about 45 minutes per day. That's it. I usually do 20 minutes of a walk. That's it. Okay, so I didn't rely on cardio to burn fat. I relied on my dietary nutrition along with my resistance training workouts to help me burn the fat. The cardio helped, but I didn't rely on it. All right. So for people out there that say aerobic exercise is the best way and the only way to burn body fat and it triumphs over resistance training, I completely disagree with that. All right. Okay. Nick, you always talk about consistency. Yes, I always do. But at what point does taking time off become laziness instead of recovery? Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there that justify rest days and say my body needs it. And it's difficult for some people to really separate the fact as does your body need it or do you need it? As in, like, you just need the break from the gym, that you're feeling a little lethargic today, that you're feeling like a little unmotivated. And that can be difficult for some people because, especially if people who are not well versed in the gym and they associate, like, for example, one of my clients who's been training for me just for a few months was training for me for 3 days in a row in the gym. And after day two, we did day one, chest and back, day two, shoulders and arms. And after day two, she messaged me in the morning saying, I don't know if I can come to the gym today. I'm just so sore. My first question is, well, where are you sore? Oh, my upper body, it's sore. I'm like, well, that makes sense. We just did 2 days in a row, chest and back day one, shoulders, arms day two. Of course, your upper body's sore. But today's legs. Why can't we do lower body? We can still lunge, we can still squat, we can still leg press, we can still hack squat. And so for that person, they didn't really think about that. They just associated the muscle soreness and, well, I should probably take time off from the gym. So the person came in, did the workout, felt great. Okay. And it's like, yeah, you know what? I still can do lower body. So it's more about really paying attention to what your body is telling you, not up here. Okay, because sometimes up here we'll say, it's okay to skip the gym. I trained for the last 3 days in a row, or it's okay to sleep in, or it's okay to have, that bagel and cheese, or it's okay to, stick out and have a few drinks at the bar. Sure, it's okay to do all that stuff. But if it's going to impact your time in the gym and it's going to make you skip a few workouts or cheat on your diet, maybe it's not okay. All right. So I feel like a lot of people, not everyone, okay, but a lot of people will look for the easier way out. It's much easier to say if it's a Saturday morning, for example, and you want to sleep in and you say, I've been working all week. I deserve to sleep in. But I'm like, sure, sleep in, go to the gym later. But are you going to go to the gym later? Because if you're not, maybe you shouldn't sleep in. Is your body telling you it needs to sleep in? Or are you just kind of being lazy? And I think that's the difference is where people who are more in tune with their body, understand their body. Like for me, I talked about on my latest Instagram post that I put up on Saturday morning about how I strained my bicep a few weeks ago. And instead of not going to the gym, I just eliminated any movements that required bicep contraction. So I did obviously no bicep work, but I did no rows or no pull down. So I did nothing for back. I trained chest, I trained shoulders, I trained triceps, I trained hamstrings, quadriceps, glutes, and calves and abs, but I didn't do anything that required any movement in the brachialis. After 2 weeks of doing that, after like 2 weeks of just training those muscle groups, I slowly started to incorporate a little bit more back movements, very light, and then slowly started to incorporate more bicep movements, very light. And now, fast forward a month later, I'm back training my back with regular weights, back training my biceps with the same weights I was doing before. Okay, or almost the same weights, close. Okay, so it's about listening to your body and really being in tune with what your body's telling you. And I do feel that that's something that takes experience. So if you're someone who's new to the gym and you're like, I'm just so sore. Or you hate going to the gym and you're just like so discouraged because you hate the way you look. And that happens to a lot of people too. I can tell you this right now that if you listen to your body and you take out all the noise, nobody cares what you look like. People are focused on themselves. So many people are focused on their own workouts. They don't care what you're doing. Okay. I can promise you this right now. Nobody cares what you're doing in the gym. Um, Everyone who goes to the gym is there to help better themselves. They're not focused on what you're doing. Okay, so whether you're 300 pounds or whether you're 120 pounds of ripped abs, nobody cares. Okay, just focus on what you're doing in the gym and cut out all the noise, cut out all the distractions, and stop relying on motivation. Focus on consistency. Okay, so even if you wake up, you're like, I really don't want to go to the gym today. One of the things I do when I really don't want to go to the gym or I really don't want to do a workout, I always negotiate with myself. I say, you know what? I'm just going to do a 15-minute session, just 15 minutes of weights. It never ends up being 15 minutes. I always end up doing 45-minute workouts, but I negotiate. So, you know what? If this is not a good workout today, I'm going to stop it. And there were times in the past where I would stop it. There's sometimes I'd go into the gym and I'd start with squats, for example. It's a leg day. I'm like, yeah, this is not feeling right, but it's my body's not feeling right. It's not that I just don't want to be here mentally. It's my body. Maybe my knees are tight, my hips are sore. Maybe I haven't taken a day off in 2 or 3 weeks. I'm like, you know what? I got to listen to my body here. As much as I want to be here right now, my body doesn't. And I'll call it. Okay, so that's different from being lazy as opposed to being strategic with your rest days and understanding your body and making sure that you're listening to your body. But I do feel like that comes with experience. Okay, so try to tap into what your body's telling you to do. Same thing when you're during your workouts. Listen to your body. If something doesn't feel right, change up the exercise, lighten the weight. Okay, change the range of motion, change the plane of motion, whatever you need to do, but pay attention to what your body's telling you. I feel if the people listen more to their body, they would recover better and we'd see less injuries. Okay. Okay. Nick, do you think some personal trainers intentionally overcomplicate fitness so clients stay dependent on them? Yeah, probably. There's probably a few out there that do that. I mean, listen, I've had people with me for 20 years. Okay. One of my clients, actually quite a few of my clients, but one of my clients was telling me the other day, he's like, we started working together in 2006. I'm like, wow, that's 20 years I've been working with this person. Okay. I've had a few clients on my roster who've been working with since 2006, 2007. So it's not uncommon. There's only so many new exercises that I can teach them. Right. At this point, I feel like I've pretty much taught them everything. All right. So the reason they continue to stay with me, or I believe the reason they continue to stay with me, One is for the accountability factor. All right. I never miss workouts. Very rarely do I call in sick. Even when I had my ulcer 2 weeks ago, I think I missed like 3 sessions and I still made it to the gym. So I'm very consistent with my clients with their sessions. I take their workouts just as seriously as I take my own. So I feel like my clients, especially my long-term clients, they see that. So the accountability factor is huge. The two is the structured training program. I always have things set up ahead of time. I talked about this in the coaching reality episode, how important it is as a coach to not just correct form and technique, but also make sure that you are having things ready for your clients upon arrival, as in their circuits are ready to go, or if you're doing basic straight set, their stations are set up. They're not standing there waiting for you. You're setting up the next circuits when they're almost finished the current circuit you're doing while they're resting. You're wiping down their mats, you're setting up their benches, you're tearing down their equipment, whatever it is, so that they can do the rest correctly and they can actually rest intelligently. Okay. So not wasting energy cleaning or putting things away. So I feel like that's another reason too, is because I put together a structured program for them. All right. And honestly, the third thing is, let's face it, a lot of people who do train with a trainer, most of them get better results than people who don't. And the reason for that is you have that second set of eyes, which is so beneficial. God, I wish I had a trainer with me at all times. But because my workouts are so random when they happen, I just plug in workouts when I get cancellations throughout the day. That's how I work out because my roster is usually full all day. That's when I plug in a workout. When I get a cancellation, I always get at least one cancellation a day. And that's when I plug in that workout. But I wish I had a coach on site with me because it'd be so beneficial because there are times where I question my form, I question my technique, or I say, maybe this exercise, I shouldn't be doing this right now. But because nobody's watching me, I might still do it. Whereas I have clients, I'm like, this exercise, it's not working for you today for whatever reason it might be. Maybe you're having a cramp in your calf, you're having lower back pain, whatever it is. You might have strained your glute, you're sitting in a car for a long period of time, whatever it is. But a good coach is going to be able to provide you with modifications. And that's what I do with a lot of my long-term clients is that just because I come in with a game plan doesn't necessarily mean we're going to stick to that exact game plan. The game plan can shift and it has numerous times. And all my clients know I'm incredibly transparent with everybody. I'll tell them straight up, I'm like, yeah, you know what? That's my fault. I shouldn't give you that exercise today. I thought it was going to work, but it's not working. So we're going to change that up. Okay. And they trust me. Okay, because they know I had their best interests at heart. I always had their best interests at heart, not just what I want to do, not what I think is going to look good for Instagram. I don't even record my clients' workouts. I'm there to help them get from point A to point B. That is my main goal. All right. So, do I think trainers overcomplicate things? Sometimes. And I know it's nice to hear, use fancy terminology. And sometimes I'll use that terminology, not even knowing that I'm using it when I start talking about the sagittal plane, the frontal plane, coronal plane, or I go into anatomy and physiology and start talking about the medial deltoid, posterior deltoid, anterior deltoid. And I have clients who've been with me for 20 years who still look at me with a blank stare. They don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And I'm like, yeah, I need to simplify this more because why would they know what I'm talking about? Why would they know about anatomy and physiology? That's what they pay me to know about. Okay. So I have to remind myself, I'm like, these people are here to train or here to work out, but they're not here for anatomy and physiology lesson. Okay. So you don't have to use all these big fancy words. You can say, we're going to work your shoulders. Okay. But we're going to work this area of your shoulder because I need you to get that mind to muscle connection. It is called your medial deltoid, but let's call it your side deltoid to simplify it. Okay. Because that helps create that mind to muscle connection for them. All right. So I do feel there's a lot of coaches out there that overcomplicate shit. And I think they do that because they're so afraid that their clients will leave them if they feel like, hey, now that I know this, I'll just go on my own. But what I've learned over the years is that if you're good at what you do, you don't have to overcomplicate shit. If anything, I try to simplify everything for people. And I'll explain to clients why I'm giving them this circuit, why I'm giving them this sequence, why I'm giving them this exercise, why I'm making this change in their diet. I'll explain why I'm doing that. But for the most part, I keep things very simple. And because I'm a firm believer that in order to build muscle and lose fat and improve your overall health and well-being, it's not complicated. We're not performing heart surgery here. Okay. So it's to a degree, it is calories in versus calories out. However, we have to be somewhat strategic with how we implement those calories and which calories you use as far as the micronutrients or the macronutrients you're utilizing, right? And that's your coach's job. But at the same time, if someone asks me a question, I always try my best to simplify it for them, not because I think that they're stupid or I think they're ignorant, just because I know that they're not well versed in this subject. And so for me, I'm going to try to keep things as simple and straightforward as possible. And I don't need to sound incredibly intelligent. My coaching speaks for itself. My track record speaks for itself. Okay. My online roster and my in-house roster, which are both basically full, speak for itself. All right. So I feel that as long as I keep things simple and straightforward and cut the bullshit, people will see that. And people will actually, they'll actually see that and they'll appreciate your transparency. And at the end of the day, people just want results. Most people just want results. They don't care how you serve them those results as long as they get those results. Okay. So that's why I even put out these no filters Q&As. I don't even edit these videos. I mix up my words from time to time, but I don't edit them. Not because I can't be bothered editing. It's just because it's a no filter Q&A. You ask me a question, I'm going to give you my best response. And sometimes my response might be the response that you don't agree with, and that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion or their own opinion. But I always try to base my answers on years of experience of working with the general population, studies that I've researched myself, and working with other trainers and other coaches that I respect in the industry who've passed down knowledge to me. All right. And I'm not always right. And when I don't know the answer to a question, I'm the first person to tell you I don't know the answer. Because for me, there's no reason, and maybe this is because I'm older now, but there's no reason to have an ego. It doesn't serve you any good when you're trying to run a business in this industry. Okay. If anything, it comes off as arrogant and cocky and you know everything, and it's not attractive to people. Okay. So I'm there to help people transform their physiques, improve their health, improve their quality of life. And for that reason, I don't need to overcomplicate shit for them. But a lot of trainers do. Anyway, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on, just want to make sure that is it for this week's no. Yeah, that was it for all the questions. This episode will be going up on Monday, August the 17th. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, the supplements you are currently taking, not taking, or considering taking, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you for supporting the YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. It truly means a lot to me. Thank you for supporting my online coaching roster as well as my in-house personal training roster here in Vancouver, British Columbia. If you're coming to Vancouver and you want to book a few sessions with a trainer, message me or one of our trainers in our roster. We'll work with you. Our gym is located downtown Vancouver, British Columbia. Or if you're looking to work with a coach to design you a customized nutritional plan or training program, I do that with people all the time. I offer one-time programs, 4-week programs, 8-week programs, 12-week programs, or 1-year programs where you have me as your coach for a full year. Includes unlimited email support. You can ask me all the questions. We make revisions to both your training program and nutritional plan on a weekly basis, sometimes bi-weekly basis with the training program. But the goal here is to hold you accountable and to teach you how to transform your physique, improve your quality of life, become more healthy and fit through diet and exercise. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all later on this week for the next Coaching Reality episode. Drops on Wednesday. Bye for now.